Anyone looking at this picture of these two leaders smiling together would consider them thick as thieves, and that would be a fair assessment considering the fact that Kim Jong-un just sent 3,000 troops into the war on Putin's side. Unfortunately, the truth is a lot more sinister than anyone could have ever imagined.
They brought in 10 Koreans and sent us to the forest to dig trenches. They give all the warm clothing and food to Koreans. During the assault, the Koreans started firing at us. We tried to explain where to aim, but I think they shot 2 of our own. I decided it was better to surrender in this situation than to be killed by our own bullet.
The narrative that is being shoved down our throats is that the attack was a mistake, but we know better. At this stage, Putin has lost 87% of his troops, and turning to Pyongyang for assistance was a last resort. To everybody's surprise, Kim Jong-un got right on board and gave his assistance without question. While Putin may have thought this was the work of his guardian angel, everything that has unfolded is proof this has all been the devil's work in disguise. Kim Jong-un has been using his soldiers as a tool to sabotage Putin's war with Ukraine. You don't believe it? Let me show you how. If you are enjoying this geopolitical content, please help us boost our channel so we can reach our target audience. You can do this by liking this video and sharing it with your friends and family. As Ukraine has captured Kursk and held its position impressively for over 3 months, Putin has realized that he has to change strategy in order to tip the scales. Ukraine's military intelligence service noted early in October that the first units of North Korean troops had been trained in Russia and deployed in the Kursk region, and they estimated that a total of around 12,000 North Korean troops, including 500 officers and 3 generals, were already in Russia, where preparations were taking place on 5 military bases. According to Zelensky, before Pyongyang deployed troops, they sent some officers to Russian-occupied territory within Ukraine to assess the situation. To further confirm the reports, South Korea's National Intelligence Service said it had tracked around 3,000 troops, including special forces, shipped by Russian naval vessels to the country's Far East for training at military bases there. In the beginning, when everyone was breathing fire at them, Moscow and Pyongyang initially dismissed reports about the North's troop deployment as fake news. After a while, they did not seem to care about the backlash, and Putin did not deny that North Korean troops were currently in Russia, while a North Korean official said any such deployment would be lawful. From the outside, everything seemed to be dandy, but the first sign of animosity between the two nations was seen as soon as the North Korean troops entered Russia. Ukrainian intelligence intercepted some conversations with Russian soldiers that raised eyebrows about how they really felt about North Korean troops.
Он с кем-то батальона К. И я говорю, ну он как раз по поводу батальону К рассказывал. Я говорю, а кто получает, говорю, на них оружие, боеприпасы? Мы, говорю, сухпайки, говорю. А кто, говорю, получает? Я говорю, насколько я слышал, получают бригады. Бригады, типа вы получаете.
Russian soldiers have been mumbling and grumbling about the North Korean soldiers who they feel they have to babysit, and who are being provided with their ammunition and military kit. The Russian soldiers even have a nickname for the North Korean soldiers, calling them the K Battalion and referring to them derogatorily as the King Chinese. Instead of being grateful that the troops had come to save them from their downfall, Russian soldiers really felt that North Korean troops were a menace. To be honest, the feelings are mutual. North Korea is not really happy about this favor that Putin called for, and it shows. The first act of sabotage came in tinned cans disguised as good food.
Всем добрый вечер. Хочу поделиться такой новостью. Угостили сегодня такой баночкой наши друзья. Я уже открыл одну. Не знаю, что за мясо. Нет перевода, но хочу показать, как она выглядит, потому что у нас такого нету. Сейчас. А ну, подержи. Вот так. Какой-то лавровый листик. Ага, немножко белого отойдет. Ага. И давайте на хлебушек. Сейчас попробуем. В принципе, на вкус как говядина или курица, что-то среднее между говядиной и курицей. Ну, неплохо.
When the North Korean soldiers arrived, it was agreed that both sides would share their resources. Imagine the disgust and horror when the Russian soldiers found out that North Koreans brought with them a taste of home in the form of canned dog meat. Things only got worse after that, and the next problem came when some of these soldiers decided they did not want to fight. The hot Russian sun had not even tanned some of the North Korean soldiers before they decided that it was time to throw in the towel. About 18 North Korean soldiers are believed to have deserted the Russian front lines at Kursk and Bryansk oblasts, which is about 4 miles from the border with Ukraine. The plan had been for Moscow to put together a battalion to help them push Ukraine out of Kursk. Unfortunately, they did not seem to be willing, and now the Russian military is looking for them while their commanders are trying to hide the desertion from the top brass. To further prove how this is sabotage, a group of defectors from North Korea has delivered leaflets to the Ukrainian embassy in Seoul, urging North Korean soldiers to desert the battlefield. The South Korean news agency Yonhap confirmed this shocking news and also provided audio proof. The group is called the Defectors Propaganda Corps, and it is made up of former North Korean soldiers and relatives of those who served in the North Korean military. This group has been handing over the leaflets to be distributed among North Korean troops, which contain calls for desertion and instructions on how to do it. Jang Se-yul, who is the group leader, explained that there were plans to hand over the pamphlets to Ukrainian soldiers in Brussels as well. This daring leader went on to advise Zelensky on how to make the North Korean troops surrender. He stated that they should use psychological warfare against North Korean soldiers, which would help the Ukrainian military secure mass surrender and defection among North Korean soldiers. Reports have shown that these North Korean defectors could actually be sent to Ukraine to launch a psychological warfare campaign on the front lines themselves. Would a nation fighting on Russia's side go to such lengths to get in the way of the soldiers it sent? Inasmuch as people may want to divorce the actions of these defectors from Kim Jong-un and his government, this act is a reflection of a clear agenda against Moscow. If Putin thinks that Kim is truly there to help him, he is in for the shock of his life when he finally realizes that Kim Jong-un is slowly turning a knife in his back. All of these things are adding up, and the recent act of shooting Russian soldiers is the grand finale that has made it clear that North Korea is getting its lick back.
Прикомандировали 10 корейцев. Нас выгнали в посадки в леса. Сказали, окапывайтесь, ройте себе ноги. Теплую одежду и еду все отдают им. И при штурме они начали стрелять по нам. Мы пытались их вразумить, куда стрелять. И корейцы вроде как застрелили двоих наших. В такой ситуации я подумал, лучше сдаться в плен, чем быть убитым своей пулей.
The Russian soldier who lived to tell the tale was captured by Ukrainian forces after he escaped his unit when North Korean soldiers fire on Russian positions in a case of misdirected fire. The soldier describes that his unit was working alongside around 10 North Korean soldiers in Russia's Kursk region and reportedly digging trenches and setting up defensive positions in the forest. Things suddenly took a chaotic turn when the North Korean troops reportedly opened fire in the wrong direction. The soldier tried to explain that the Koreans were firing at the wrong people, but 2 Russian soldiers had to die first before they realized their mistake. A lot of things do not add up about this sudden misdirected attack, which begs the question, was it really an honest mistake? Some commentators have tried to hone in on the aspect of the language barrier, but that in no way impacts a soldier's ability to visibly identify his teammates. Outside of the desertions, there are other things about the North Korean soldiers' conduct that show that they were never really there for the fight. Yes, you are reading that headline right. The troops that have been deployed to the front line to fight for Russia have become distracted by porn. So the thing is, in North Korea, internet access is not widely available in North Korea, and only high-level officials and foreigners are granted access to international websites. North Korean citizens have access to a site called Hwangmyeon, which is a system that is heavily regulated and mostly consists of political propaganda and scientific information. When the North Korean military soldiers arrived and got their first taste of freedom, they used it to watch tons of pornography. This is crazy to think about and shows the absolute disregard for the mission at hand. Most of the North Koreans who have happily joined the war have probably done so to escape Pyongyang and to experience something outside of their restricted lives there. If you were to look at some of these incidents in isolation, it would be easy not to see the covert sabotage at play. Some of it simply looks like Putin choosing a weak ally to play on his team. Disappointingly, this would completely underestimate what Kim Jong-un is capable of. For now, there is a benefit to helping Putin, and in exchange for his help, he has reportedly received some food, fuel, and goods. But we must not be blind to the fact that this is also the perfect opportunity for him to silently sabotage Putin and knock one piece off the board of geopolitical chessboard.